can edit this, right?
Okay.
So you are in a sophomore level biology class, and specifically we are wrapping up the end of a unit in genetics. Okay. So and actually will be fun. I'll be doing this. This is a good pre for me. I'm doing this in about 3 weeks. So it's like a good reminder for me too. So you will need a lab partner, specifically one person. So you need to partner up in pairs. I'll give you about 20 seconds to do so. Ready, steady, go.
Hi, partner.
Who's another partner in
Ryan, you know what, Ryan, you can join us after that.
See how it is, guys. Do we all have lab partners? How about thumbs up if you do have? I will allow a group of 3 because I think actually we have odds in here. We do have odds, so you have to have a group of 3, okay? Perfect. So today, your language verb will be to combine. So you will be able to combine different genes from parents to predict the genotypes and phenotypes of their offspring. Or vice versa, you can take the genes of offspring and predict what their parents' phenotypes were, which is, as an applicable science, how we actually develop gene testing or family trees. And I can't remember what the actual science for family trees is. I'm spacing out. But anyway, so it's how we determine family trees, okay? So specifically, how to combine something, and we haven't actually gone over what a genotype is yet, but let's say, for example, you can have a genotype with a capital P and lowercase p. These 2 letters make up a single trait. So for example, if you give me a thumbs up, if your thumb curves backwards, you have specifically a lowercase p, hitchhiker's thumb. Okay? Whereas if your thumb is straight, you have either a capital P, or a capital P, lowercase p. So what we'll do today is you'll combine the individual pieces of a genotype to create one full genotype. Okay? Our specific key vocab then is going to be dominant genes, which is going to be a trait that overpowers a recessive one. A recessive gene, which is just a weaker gene. Genotype, which is the quote-unquote code for a gene. So like I said over here, the code for our gene here was 2 letters, was a capital P, lowercase p is our code. And then our phenotype specifically is the physical appearance of a gene. For example, your hitchhiker's thumb or a straight finger. Okay? So I want to teach you guys then how to combine different genotypes here using a Punnett square. And at this point in the unit, students have worked and crunched Punnett squares for the last 3 weeks. So most people will be like, oh my gosh, here we go again, okay? So how we set up a Punnett square is we break apart the individual pieces of our gene and we link it into a box diagram just like so, where we have 4 individual boxes, and then we have the parent number 1 and parent number 2's genotypes laid out. How we combine these is then we take the letter from each one and we just fill in our box based on the letters that coincide. So with your partners now, or a group of 3, I want you to specifically solve the following Punnett squares that I'm putting on the whiteboard here on a piece of paper or in your lab journals, which you usually would have, okay? But you can work together, okay? So, box number 1, we will have a total of 3 boxes that you'll be able to crunch probably in the span of 3 to 4 minutes, okay? Actually, I want to do not P's because that's hard to read. Let's do B's. That's a little easier to see if it's lowercase or not. Okay, so when you see the Punnett squares, go ahead and get to work. I can use that one. So what?
The first one's right.
First one's right.
B's on top.
2 little b's, and a little b and a capital B on the other side.
2 little B on the front.
So this one's going to be
Yes.
Big B coffee.
I don't think so. Oh, it's just
Like the Big Coffee. You got Big B. Want to know a weird, funny story about Big B Coffee?
Is there?
But do you know why it's called Big B Coffee? Because it used to be called Beaners.
Beaners, yeah.
And they're like, that's not over
Is this
there.
all on
not-
the video?
first-
This is all on the video. Jason, don't use this for the
Is that our syntax?
Don't use this for the
Geez,
NT.
of Hispanics now.
Continue. That should not be in the ITPA video.
Have we finished our Punnett squares 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Everyone has. Okay, so any volunteers either want to come up and write for me, or you can just tell me what goes in each box as I point to it. Sure.
Little b, little b,
Okay.
little b, little b. Big B, little b's. And big B, little b.
So let's take a second and stop and say what are specifically our genotypes from our Punnett squares. We have a big B, little b. What other type of genotype do we have?
Little b, little
A little b, little b. So now based on our ideas of dominant and recessive genes, which letter would you infer is dominant and which would you infer is recessive? How about someone with a raised hand? Yeah, Marta.
I would assume the uppercase is dominant and the lowercase is recessive.
Why would you think that?
Because I would typically associate uppercase letters with being more mature and lowercase letters with being smaller.
More mature, sure. Damon, thoughts? Little b being dominant? And why? Because there's more of them? So that's not a bad idea. In this case, we use capitals for dominant only because they are larger letters than their smaller counterparts. So usually in nature, larger means you're dominant, okay? So here, we would have a dominant phenotype, and I'll just do dom for short, and we have a recessive phenotype. Can anyone think, besides your hitchhiker's thumb, what a dominant trait could be in anything? Yeah.
Eye color.
Eye color, specifically, like, now I'm going to prior
like
knowledge.
Brown.
Brown versus
Blue.
blue or any other color, right? Hazel blue or green, right? Anything else? Sherman?
Skin color?
Skin color?
Would that be?
Kind of, it's multiple alleles, which is a whole nother lesson. Okay? So, yeah. Widow's peaks, yes. Speaking of widow's peaks being a recessive, while non-widow's peaks would be dominant. Any others? Yeah, right?
Is handedness one?
Like left-handed or right-handedness? That, we have to talk to an ECE person, because I wouldn't actually tell. I don't think it's genes. It could be, maybe not. I'll tell you what, here's the classic teacher. I'll research it and I'll tell you tomorrow. Yeah.
Web toes.
Webbed toes, yes.
Straight or curly hair.
Straight or curly hair.
Your
Earlobe, detached or attached earlobes, okay?
Would, what do you call it?
Dimples, absolutely. And then one last one is hair color, whereas blonde would be recessive, while brown would be dominant and or black, okay? So, number 2, any other volunteers to help me fill in our box? You can just shout out as a class. Yeah, okay, Andrew in the back.
Little b, big B. Little. Big, big. Big, little.
So again, what's our possible genotypes?
Too big?
2 bigs, okay? And
Too little?
2 littles. Any different genotypes in this one?
Big and little.
Okay, okay.
And a little bit.
So we get all different kinds of combinations, okay? And then our phenotypes. Oops. Phenotype, there you go, sound it out. Could be anything depending on what trait we're talking about, okay? So now, on this last Punnett square, I'm gonna change it up on you, okay? So ready for my curveball. You're going to tell me what the parents are based on what I'm giving you. Ready, steady, go.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Oh yeah, is everyone finished? I mean, yeah, I guess it doesn't take long. I guess high schools take like. Okay, let's do the top parent first.
Little B, big B.
Little b, big B, and the side?
Little B.
And little. Does anybody disagree? You all agree?
I agree because
I'm just confused because wouldn't the one on the top right be little b big B?
That's what I was wondering.
So your question is why
Isn't
are
that
those switched?
interchangeable though?
doesn't matter.
Let me ask you this. The difference, if I have a little b, oops, that's not a comma, and a larger b, that would be dominant because we have a dominant trait. And for our vocab, a dominant trait overpowers a recessive one. Whereas if we flipped it, do we still have a dominant?
Yes.
Do we still have a recessive?
Yes.
So in our case here, it does not matter the order of which they do. So I just did that to like sort of have some fun. I know, right? So for your lab activity today, you need to send up one person up here to come and test my taster strips. Another gene that is strictly recessive and dominant is taster genes of a specific chemical that is on all these pieces of paper. So when you taste it, it should be very, very sweet, like sugar, to your tongue, so like candy, okay? If you are a taster, and if you're not, it will taste like nothing. So one person from each group needs to come up and grab your group's tasters for everybody, okay?
For everybody?
Yes, you're grabbing one for everybody, okay? You can take even like a bundle of them, because I got plenty.
Oh, we both get one?
This way you let me know swallow.
That's probably some kind of actual mutation within like the pigmentation, yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay. Don't taste it yet.
Oh.
Did you already taste it?
No.
Okay, good.
I waited.
Do not taste.
So excited.
Don't swallow it.
Swallow it.
Is it a different one than the cyanide taster one? Or is it the same one?
I'll let you decide
Oh, okay.
based on your prior knowledge here, right? That's okay.
I'll bring it.
All right, so before you taste any of it, what you're going to do with this is you're going to taste, you're going to lick it, and I'm going to tell you specifically that if you taste it, you're a dominant trait tongue. If you can't taste anything, you're recessive. So after you taste it, you and your group are going to work together to write out your possible genotypes and phenotypes, okay? Which you know the phenotype right off the bat because it's what you taste or don't taste. Based on that, you have to write out your possible genotypes, and then I want you to find out the possible parental genotype, okay? So, go ahead, taste, ready, steady, go.
I don't taste anything. It's bitter.
Oh.
Is that a trick?
Hey,
You tell them they taste bad, they don't taste it. So you guys tell them it tastes good.
oh, that's
What is it supposed to taste like?
Oh, good bad.
You're obviously
I don't
not.
taste
anything. You don't. It tastes like so that's recessive. It tastes like rubbing alcohol. So I don't trust our teacher. I'm too like a kid. Maybe little, and then I'm little.